I'll let the directors both introduce themselves and then we can start moving along.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for taking the time to visit with us today. I'm Michael Wallace. I am the director of the Emergency Security Studies program, and a little bit about my background. I served 20 years in the Navy, mainly as an intelligence officer. After the Navy, I worked on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and then I've been at Tulane now since 2014, so almost 8 years. And I teach courses in intelligence. I also teach it in counterterrorism. So I love this subject, and I'm, again, happy that you took the time to visit with us. I'll turn it over to my colleague, Becky.
I don't know why it's always so hard to introduce myself. I too am retired military from the superior fighting force called the U.S. Army. We have our inter-service rivalry here. You'd be welcome to join that quarrel. But my other background, in addition to doing everything military police ever did in the U.S. Army, a little bit of all of that, I also taught at West Point. I also wrote speeches for combatant commanders. And upon leaving, was in education right away, educating general officers on how we support defense, provides defense support to civil authorities. Worked for FEMA for about 1.5 years, and I joined Tulane full-time about 1.5 years ago, I guess it is, going on 2 years. But before that, I did teach counterterrorism courses for Tulane's program, and I teach mostly emergency management and related courses right now.
Cool. All right. So yeah, feel free to ask questions in the chat at any point, as Ann mentioned there. So the why Sopa, you ask? Well, we have a depth in online programs. Both of our programs, the graduate programs, can be completed fully online. For the most part, the undergraduate programs can as well. There's a few courses that are in the works of being created to be, or they're going to make those online, and that's just a little bit of a process. But otherwise, you can get the vast majority online, and also in the classroom. Our courses cater to working adults, non-traditional students for the most part. So our courses will be in the evenings, once a week, generally from 6 to 8:50 p.m. And otherwise online. And another reason why people choose Sopa is because of our programs and our faculty. Our programs are designed for our non-traditional students. There's a lot of applied learning in our programs. A lot of experience is brought in directly from those fields. As you know, you can tell from both Dr. Wallace and Dr. Rouse's backgrounds in emergency and security studies as a whole, and also all of our faculty, whether full-time or adjunct faculty, work directly in that field and can bring you, that kind of information firsthand to the classroom. We also have a good student support network at the university. We have academic advisors such as myself that are here to assist you every step along the way, whether you're starting off as an undergraduate or if you already have been at college in the past, then as a transfer student, getting your transfer credits evaluated and all that good stuff. We have a career advisor available to our students around the clock as well, whether you're, in your first semester or midway through or planning to finish and need help with your resume or any kind of job search, those kind of things. The Emergency Security Studies program too, they also bring in a lot of guest speakers, which I think is really cool in the different areas of Homeland Security. And, they'll offer internships at times even as well. So there's a good opportunity there, and also to get some firsthand, some good experience before you go out and apply for those kind of jobs in those fields. But in addition to student support, yeah, we have the academic advisors, the career advisor. We have, financial aid advisors that are assigned to you as well, if that's something that you will be applying for when you start school again. Excuse me. And just, students can request accommodations from the Goldman Center, and we have just a slew of different kinds of support, tech support, university resources. We have a career advisor, as I mentioned. We have a tutoring center where students can, look to get tutored. We have a library where you can do all your research and all those different kinds of things as well. Another reason why is the affordability and the flexibility. So, we have mostly non-traditional students who have the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, who have families that have a lot of other things going on. So we have evening classes as a result of that. And then we have online classes where, that run on a week-to-week basis where you kind of do a module each week. So you can, set your own time aside and then get your assignments in that when it's convenient to you by, whatever due date the professors post in the online classrooms. And then also the affordability. Our tuition is affordable compared to other universities in the area. And our graduate programs are nationally recognized as well. And then finally, the name Tulane speaks for itself. And so when an employer sees that on a resume, that's always a big plus to have. All right, next slide. Online. So just going back to that again, we had on a scale over 13,000 students complete almost 32,000 hours of online coursework since 2018. Our online programs have been growing in the last several years. We were well adapted to the pandemic when everything switched to online, when everything switched to Zoom. Our school was probably the most prepared school with that in the whole entire university. We have online depth, as I mentioned. We have these master's degrees, 8 of them, 19 graduate certificate programs that are also available under Emergency and Security Studies, as you'll see later. We have some post-baccalaureate certificate programs and 320 courses all developed to be taught online. And the quality, as I mentioned earlier as well, we have great faculty all across our different programs that are available, over 200 trained and effective online instruction. And they've also, in addition, have received multiple awards. Next slide. The Homeland Security field, I know if Dr. Wallace or Rouse, you guys want to do this one, I think.
Yeah, Dan. So the Homeland Security field is a really big field. It encompasses a lot of different agencies, a lot of different jobs. Originally, Homeland Security was established after 9/11, after the attack 9/11/2001. I have to say that now because we have students that weren't even born yet. But it was started after 9/11 to protect the homeland, the United States, against terrorism. Then in 2005, we had an event here in New Orleans called Hurricane Katrina, and that changed the focus from Homeland Security being just a counterterrorism thing to kind of being just protection and response to events that happen in the homeland. So whether they be natural or man-made, Homeland Security kind of evolved into that, kind of an all hazards approach. So you can see emergency management, Homeland Security includes emergency management, critical infrastructure, cybersecurity, intelligence, counterterrorism, and homeland defense and border security. So a lot of different moving parts that make up Homeland Security. Next slide, please. And I'll let Dr. Rouse take this one.
Okay, depending on who you speak to, emergency management has been a profession, if certainly a field, maybe not an academic field, but since the founding of our country, of course, just like Homeland Defense has been. And in fact, it's become more professional. Again, in the wake of Hurricane Katrina, we started to see that partners from local to state to feds did not have a clue in many cases as to what each other was doing. What this means for folks who want to study emergency management is also that the job market for this field for emergency managers is expanding like mad. There was a long period of time when emergency managers didn't necessarily have to have any professional education, any background in emergency management. Sometimes it was just a good old boy network, and really it was mostly good old boys that that were the emergency managers around the country. So this is something that we are trying to springboard from and help emergency management as a field and as a discipline become more professional and more comprehensive.
And then security management. And one of the great things about my job is that I get to go and travel all around Louisiana and other parts of the country and talk with people that are in the field. So emergency management, Homeland Security, and security management. And security management is that side of Homeland Security and emergency management that is the private sector. Companies have a lot of the same requirements, both emergency management and security issues that public institutions do. They just do it on a different scale than the government, but they're very worried about emergency management, critical infrastructure, protection of their employees and their customers. So we created this security management master's degree to answer that, to allow people in that field to get education at the graduate level, to increase their knowledge in the field, but also allow them to advance in the field. Next slide, please. And as Dr. Rouse was saying, where can you find security and homeland professionals? Pretty much everywhere. This slide kind of shows you some of the different agencies. So you're talking about the federal government. There are many, many, many different agencies, the intelligence community, law enforcement, FEMA. You have state agencies. Every state has an emergency management and Homeland Security office, whether they're combined like here in Louisiana or separate like in our neighboring state, Mississippi, but every state has this. And in addition, every county, parish, and medium or larger city has emergency management and Homeland Security also. So at every level of government, you can find this. And then again, private industry, they have a lot of the same requirements and they are located all over the country too. Other areas, hospitals are, when you think of hospitals, you think of, curing and helping sick people, but they also are concerned with emergency management, security management, pretty much everything that makes up Homeland Security and emergency management. They're worried about keeping the patients safe, doctors. They're worried about keeping the lights on, worried about cyber terrorism. Medical records are all digitized now. So what we're trying to say is that there are a lot of jobs out there in a lot of different fields that deal with Homeland Security, emergency management, and security management. Next slide. So to help you get jobs in these fields, we have different degrees. The first one is our Bachelors in Homeland Security Studies. The degree itself, the bachelor's degree, is 120 credits, with 30 of those credits making up the Homeland Security major. And you can see courses here. You'll take courses in emergency management, health and medical issues in emergency management, which has become more important since this COVID epidemic has struck, the partnership between emergency management and public health, counterterrorism, critical infrastructure, and cybersecurity. Again, cybersecurity is just continuing to be more important across all the fields that are in Homeland Security. You also have the option as a bachelor's student between your junior and senior year to apply to our graduate program and a program that we call 4+1 program. So this allows you to start taking graduate level courses your final year at Tulane as an undergrad. You can take 2, and then once you graduate from your undergrad, you move right into our graduate program and can complete the program, all the courses, within 1 calendar year. So that's another bonus you have doing this program at Tulane. Next slide. We have a number of certificates. We have a post-baccalaureate certificate. This is for people who already have a bachelor's degree, but not in the Homeland Security and emergency management fields. They want to get a background in emergency and security studies. They can take this baccalaureate or this post-baccalaureate degree and get familiarity with what makes up emergency and security studies. We also have graduate certificates, and some of these certificates I'm really excited about. These are 12-hour certificates. So these are 4 classes, and these are transferable into any of our master's programs. So let's say you want to start an emergency management graduate certificate. You can take those 4 classes, and if you like the program and want to continue, those will transfer into your master's degree. So you already have those 12 hours already done. Some of the areas for these certificates include intelligence, security management, emergency management, sport and event security, which is growing in popularity. So that's protection of stadiums and events down here in New Orleans. We're getting ready for Mardi Gras in a couple of weeks. So that's always a huge event. One that is brand new that we'll be unveiling in the fall is an open source intelligence graduate certificate. So this is open source intelligence. So this is all the information that's out there in the internet, in the deep web, not the dark web, but the deep web. We're going to teach you how to find this information, and then once you do, how to analyze it. So I'm very excited about this certificate. Next, please. So we're going to turn to the graduate degrees. All of these degrees are similar. So they're Masters of Professional Studies. They are 33 hours. So that's 11 courses, with the final course, the 11th course, being a capstone that you will complete your final semester here at Tulane. We have 3 different degrees: Homeland Security, Emergency Management, and Security Management. Now, to be admitted into the program, you need to have an undergrad GPA of at least a 3.0. We also take into consideration some factors. For example, if you received a degree 20 years ago and your grades weren't quite up to 3.0, but since then you've had experience in the field doing certain jobs, we also take that into consideration. And we have programs where you can be admitted on a probationary status and to prove that you can do the work at the graduate level. We don't require a GRE, but we do require a writing sample. So every person who applies needs to submit a writing sample on what they think is the greatest threat facing either Homeland Security or emergency management or security management. Next slide. So the specific Homeland Security degree, you can see that we have 7 core classes, and that includes the capstone. So in reality, you have 6 core classes with a capstone, and then you have 4 electives. And what this allows a student to do, I talked about those graduate certificates earlier, you can take one of those graduate certificates as your electives. So you will get a MPS in Homeland Security Studies with a graduate certificate. It's possible to do both. So for example, you could get one in, you can get a degree in Homeland Security Studies and a certificate in open source intelligence. You can also we also have a concentration, not a certificate, but a concentration in cybersecurity that's connected with our cyber and IT program here at Sopa. You can see the courses and the careers. Again, if you're interested in Homeland Security, which is counterterrorism, intelligence, cyber, protection of the homeland, this is the degree that would probably be of most interest to you. Next slide, please. And then security management, the private sector. It's the same setup. So you have, actually, this is a little out of date. It's 6 courses, with the 7th again being your capstone, and that allows you, again, those 4 electives which you can specialize in a graduate certificate. And you can see the courses here a little different. We focus more on that industry. So you have physical and infrastructure protection, risk management, corporate security, business continuity. We have an ethics course. And then, of course, cyber. Next slide. And I'll let Dr. Ross take this one.
Okay, our MPS in emergency management, as you can see, this is also something's not quite right here. We changed this actually a year ago. So the courses, there are actually 5 required courses and 5 electives and 1 capstone course. So what we had formerly had was kind of a formula, if you will, and folks took pretty much a standard list of courses, and everybody took those courses. Instead of now, you can tailor what you want to study. And just this week, we put together a proposal where we are expanding into public health. We have the School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine, which offers obviously degrees, everything up to medical degrees. But there are courses within their programs, and we're working with the School of Social Work as well, which has a disaster resilience academy. we're working with those schools as well for some of those courses to count as electives toward your degree. And the whole point is that we know that even though we argue emergency management as a discipline, as a field, as a profession exists everywhere and in every single industry, it's quite different one industry to the next. If it's a small county versus a large manufacturing plant, for example, versus a hospital system versus a school district, and so on. There are things you want to tailor your degree to study what's interesting to you, or to study what's interesting to your employer, who you may be going to, especially for a graduate degree, you may be looking for advancement in your field, or changing careers, either one. You can see right there what some of our courses are, but we also offer, I think we're pretty generous on independent studies. It seems like we have at least one or two every term for students who say, I'd really like to study this. I really like to produce a manual for crisis management for a government agency that has asked me to do this. And I mean, these are the kind of real world projects that we do include. They're separate from the capstones, but they give the students a chance to do outreach and service to their communities and to their industries at every stage in almost every course.
And, just to follow on what Dr. Rouse was saying, we recently helped out the Audubon Zoo, which if you have been to New Orleans, you know where Tulane is. We're right across the street from Audubon Park, which is one of the bigger parks in New Orleans. And the Audubon Park also has the Audubon Zoo. We actually, our students went and updated their security and emergency plans. So that's just an example of the real world stuff that we do. And actually, it was Dr. Rouse that put that all together. So kudos to her on that one.
And if we can just jump in, I didn't mention this during the Homeland Security undergraduate degree. And the graduate students have opportunities too, but we have a brand new consultancy course and we're working with all kinds of agencies. Everybody we ask, hey, is there anything we can do to help you in terms of security and emergency audits and looking at your facilities anew? Every single 100% of the organizations say yes. So now we actually have too many projects. We're also taking our students in that program, the Homeland Security program, we're taking our students with about 10 of them to the National Hurricane Conference in Orlando in April. And we have every intention, I'm looking at a trip for my critical infrastructure protection students. And we're looking at these opportunities, especially for undergraduates, but we're thinking anew as well for graduate students. So what kind of, maybe how we can meet them at conferences, maybe start developing publishable materials where folks can, submit articles or pieces from their real world gigs or even from their schoolwork. So again, our whole intention is to be practitioner scholars, serving our communities and our industries, as well as our professions, and having an opportunity to point to real world projects and output that we have produced in the course of a degree program.
And to do that, we have some truly outstanding faculty. All of our faculty, with the exception of Dr. Rouse and myself, are part-time, they're adjuncts. And the reason we do that is that when you have a class in emergency management, you're going to learn from an actual emergency manager, someone who's currently in the field or somebody who has been in the field for decades. And we feel like this is the best way to teach emergency management and also Homeland Security is with people who are in the field. So they can give you the theory, but then also how that theory is applied in the real world. They're also great people to talk to if you're interested in a certain field. As an example, Meg McPherson, who's in the middle here, she's an emergency manager for Mount Sinai Hospital System up in New York City. She's been extremely busy with COVID for the last couple of years, but she is very involved with a lot of different emergency management organizations, including the International Association of Emergency Managers, and has connections all over the country in emergency management. So you're going to get an education from leaders in the field, both professionally and also academically. Another great thing about the program is that a lot of your classmates are in the field, and you might be in the field yourself. So everyone kind of contributes in class. It's not just, you sit there and receive all this information. We actually encourage students who are in the field to contribute, because again, it's all about the sharing of information. We're preparing the next generation to take care of me, and to take care of Dan, to take care of Becky. And so we want you to be the best trained that we can make you. The how and the why of what we do. Next slide, please. And you can see our students and graduates. We have been very, very fortunate to have a lot of our graduates find jobs with federal government, a lot of three-letter agencies, FEMA, state and local. And we actually had a graduate who got hired by the state of New Jersey for doing emergency management. And she overhauled all their hurricane plans about a month before Superstorm Sandy hit a few years ago. So talking about being in the right place at the right time. We're also fortunate to have connections with different agencies and agencies who are very interested in recruiting here, including the FBI, CIA, ATF, Naval Criminal Investigative Service, just to name some, at the federal level and also at the state and local level.
Before you get off the slide too, you're going to be sitting in class physically or virtually with folks who literally work in the FBI, or they work. I had a White House fellow one time. I had an investigator for the Department of State in a single class. And then you have folks who work locally or in their local communities that do amazing things in their quote real lives, and these become part of your network as well. And in fact, one of my students asked me once a year and a half later, hey, what was the name of that guy who was in law enforcement in the parish over, because they talked about building an exercise with active shooter and things like this, and folks are willing to be leveraged pretty much for the rest of their lives. So you're going to get to meet some of those folks, and of course you too are one of those amazing students. I mean, no matter what you do in the real world, your perspectives and your contributions are truly valued in the classroom. Always invited and always welcome.
Next slide. All right, Dan, back to you.
All right, yeah, thank y'all both for the breakdown of y'all's programs. So yeah, I'll just go over, excuse me, some additional information, starting off with student support and success. I mentioned, us academic advisors, regardless of the program, are here to assist you along the way, to get you set up, to get you started, to get you reacclimated back to school, to get you oriented. We have an orientation as well, obviously, in addition to all that, but we are your focal point, your main contact for just about anything. I get questions asked from all different areas, and just from over the years and experience, a lot of times I'll know the answer, and other times we can refer you, to the person who may be able to assist you. But pretty much anything, as long as it's not like financial related, is, we're your main person on this journey. Expert faculty, industry experience, just went over that. It's really awesome what they bring to their classroom and the experience, and then the other students learning from each other, from the faculty, working in those fields is truly beneficial to them. And not just in this program, but in our other programs as well, IT and kinesiology and so on. But career advice, Cynthia Washington is our career advisor. She teaches a class. If you're an undergraduate student, it's a career success strategies class. It's gotten a lot of great reviews. I've recommended it to students, especially those who are in their last year, have an elective to take and not quite sure yet, what they're going to do or how to start their job search, or, even build resumes and stuff like that I was talking about before. And then we have our networks of program peers and other Tulane alumni as well. Once you're an alumni and a graduate of Tulane, you're kind of like in the family forever. And a lot of good networking opportunities that way as well, not just for jobs, but other things too. Next slide. Yeah. So now we'll go over the application process. pretty simple and straightforward these days. You just go to our website, sopa.tulane.edu and /apply, or there's also an apply button at the top of the page. Just complete the application, submit the essay if you're applying to the graduate program. The application fees are listed there. For those of you that attended this webinar today, once you apply, that application fee will be waived for you. Have your government ID, driver's license, something like that uploaded, as part of the application process to identify you. And then if you attended any prior colleges, then you'll just need to submit official transcripts from those schools. So they'll have to be sent directly to us from your previous institutions that you attended. A lot of schools do electronic transcripts nowadays, which is great because the turnaround time is 1 or 2 days tops versus a week or two by snail mail. And then again, no GRE is required for the graduate program. If you're applying as an undergraduate, you don't have any prior college, then you just need to upload high school diploma, transcript, or GED results. Next slide. All right, so another way to earn credit towards your degree, in addition to transfer credit, because a lot of our students work and have full-time jobs and they accumulate experience over the years, we have what's called the Credit for Prior Learning program. And that allows you to earn a certain number of credits towards your master's or bachelor's degree. For the bachelor's, you can get up to 24 credits that way through portfolio assessment, where you basically take a portfolio class where you learn how to put together a portfolio of your experience and submit that for evaluation and review. And then you can submit the actual portfolio itself for potential credit. And if it's accepted, then you pay a small fee, and then you can get credit for that experience towards your degree with us. By examination is another way. It's we have CLEP there, or not we, but we accept certain CLEP and DSST exams where you can sit for those exams, sign up on their website, and then as long as you get the minimum passing score for Tulane, then you can get credit for a particular class, or towards your degree, maybe even possibly as like elective credit as well. And then we accept military credit, military training. If you were, prior Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, you name it, we can accept up to 12 credits as an undergraduate student. And then the credit for prior learning, it's basically stuff you learned outside of the classroom, like work experience, training, community service, anything like that. In the graduate level, there's 6 credits that students can get a maximum of, because those programs are a lot shorter. So the undergraduate program allows for the 24. But that's a good quick way if you have a strong background. If you're in IT or something and you're like, I already did all this in my job, I don't need to take the class, then you may be a good candidate for that program. All right, next slide. Financial assistance. So there are different types of financial assistance available, in addition to basic financial aid packages. So we offer 20% tuition discounts on both undergraduate and graduate level courses. If you are, city, parish, sheriff's office, housing authority employee, if you're active duty military, regardless of the branch. Same with the graduate level. We offer veterans discounts as well if you served prior, and public safety personnel, active and retired. If you were a firefighter, police officer, EMS, anything like that, you can just send us, excuse me, getting the transfer thing mixed up, but then you'll be eligible for a discount as well on tuition. And veteran active duty military benefits we have as well. There's a yellow ribbon program that's for eligible students enrolling in our master's degrees. There's the Montgomery GI Bill. We have a lot of veterans, not just in this program, but that are using their GI Bill benefits, that are using their Army or military tuition assistance programs. And then there's a voc rehab, vocational rehabilitation and employment program. I've had students in that program that I've guided all the way through to the completion of their degree, and now they're actively working. And then survivors and dependents educational assistance is available as well. Next slide. Affordability, we talked about that. The tuition rates are there listed for you for this upcoming spring, or for this semester that's currently rolled and started already. Undergraduate, $576 per credit. Most of the classes, if not all, but a few are all 3 credit hour classes. Graduate credit is just over $1,100 a credit. Those are all 3 credit hour courses. I think a lot what differentiates us from a lot of other schools is we don't charge a lot of fees on top of the tuition that other schools do. So it's pretty much your tuition, your books, and there may be a small additional fee, but nothing extraordinary beyond that. Financial aid is available to students pursuing degrees and certain certificate programs to help pay for your educational costs for those of you that qualify. So you just have to do your FAFSA application, and then based on the information you submit there to them, they then have whatever formula or whatever it is to determine what you're eligible for, how much you're eligible for, when, and so on and so forth. But you can, potentially get a federal grant, loans, the yellow ribbon. There's also the 20% discount, and then the credit for prior learning, where you can get up to 24 credits for your work and life experience, will help save on tuition costs as well. Next slide. Application deadlines are listed, pretty straightforward. They're generally about 3 to 4 weeks before the semester starts. So for this upcoming, the next semester, we have admission every semester. So if you're looking to come in for the summer, you need to apply and submit your application by May 1st. If a transcript or two trickles in a couple days after that, that's fine. We have early enrollment scholarships too, which is a benefit for those who apply early and get registered early. Then you will get either $200 or $500 off of your classes to save on tuition that way. Fall deadline, August 1st, that's usually the biggest incoming semester. And then the spring deadline is January 1st to apply for. Next slide. That'll do it. I will, give it back to Dr. Wallace here. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask us. Feel free to take down their information there. Their email addresses are available. They'll be happy to speak to you in more depth about the programs if you have any follow-up questions, or again, you'll be able to list them in the chat now if you like as well. And thanks again for attending.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you also. Dan pretty much wrapped it up pretty well, but if you have any questions about the program itself, the career field, getting jobs in the career field, any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to either Dr. Rouse or myself. We're more than happy to talk about anything. And to tell you the truth, this is the fun part of our job. So please feel free to reach out. Does anyone have any questions now? Anything that they'd like to ask or share? All right. So please reach out if you'd like. And thank you again for taking the time.